Turnovers and depleted defense lead to a quick playoff exit for top-seeded Lions. The Detroit Lions were on the brink of making history. After a 15-2 regular season and securing the NFC's top seed, they seemed poised for a Super Bowl run. But in a cruel twist of fate, their playoff journey ended in heartbreaking fashion. The Lions, despite being the higher seed, couldn't overcome a series of turnovers and a struggling defense in a 45-31 loss to the Washington Commanders. This early exit raised more questions than answers. What went wrong? How did a team that had shown so much promise self-destruct on the biggest stage? Let's break down this surprising and painful loss for the Lions and what it means for their future. The setup. A perfect opportunity gone wrong. The Lions had everything in their favor: a stellar regular season record, home field advantage throughout the playoffs, and a first-round bye. They'd earned the NFC's top seed after coming up just short in last year's NFC Championship game against the San Francisco 49ers. Everything seemed to be lined up for a Super Bowl run. They had the pieces, the momentum, and the confidence, but in the blink of an eye, their season was over. The Detroit Lions, known for their resilience and grit, simply couldn't execute when it mattered most. In a shocking twist, they found themselves overwhelmed by the Washington Commanders, turning the ball over 5 times in a disastrous 45-31 defeat. The team had self-destructed in the worst possible way, undermined by costly mistakes and an inability to recover. A night of mistakes. Jared Goff's struggles and key turnovers. All eyes were on quarterback Jared Goff, and for good reason. He had been the steady leader of the Lions' offense all season long. But on this night, he faltered. Goff threw 3 interceptions, including a brutal pick-6 returned 40 yards by Washington's Quan Martin, which gave the Commanders a 24-14 lead. On top of that, he lost his first fumble of the season, further compounding the team's problems. Do I think we win if I play better? Quite possibly. Goff admitted after the game, "I cost us points by not taking care of the ball. And that's something that's going to hurt for a long time." But let's not pile all the blame on Goff. Sure, he had an off night, but there were other factors at play. The defense, ravaged by injuries, couldn't hold up either. Washington rookie Jayden Daniels looked like a seasoned vet as he sliced through the Lions' defense, racking up 299 passing yards, 188 of which came after the catch. It was a defensive breakdown that the Lions just couldn't recover from. Defense. Injuries and mental errors pile up. Even without the turnovers, Detroit's defense was underperforming from the start. Injuries had decimated the unit all season, and this game was no different. The Lions were already missing star defensive end Aidan Hutchinson, who was aiming for a Super Bowl return after suffering a broken leg in October. But the hits kept coming. Early in the game, cornerback Amik Robertson went down with a broken arm, adding to the growing list of defensive injuries. Despite the injuries, defensive coordinator Aaron Glenn's unit simply couldn't get stops when needed most. Washington's offense ran rampant, piling up 481 total yards, including 182 rushing yards. The Lions failed to sack Daniels, a glaring weakness that had plagued them since Hutchinson's injury. The Commanders' running backs, Brian Robinson Jr. and Austin Eckler, ran through Detroit's defense as if it wasn't even there, combining for 124 yards on just 21 carries. In short, Detroit's defense was gashed from all angles, and the Commanders capitalized on every opportunity. Critical mental mistakes and missed opportunities. But what truly stung was the mental mistakes. After clawing their way back to within 31-28 early in the fourth quarter, the Lions had a golden opportunity to stop the Commanders on a crucial 4th and 2 from the Detroit 5-yard line. A stop here could have completely changed the momentum of the game. But instead, the Lions were called for having 12 men on the field, giving Washington a fresh set of downs. 2 plays later, Robinson scored, making it 38-28 and all but sealing the game for the Commanders. Coach Dan Campbell took full responsibility for the mistake, saying, "That hurt us a bit. But Kindle Vildor came in and played well." Despite Vildor's efforts, the damage was done. The Lions' mental errors were just too much to overcome. The final blow. A risky play that didn't pay off. As if things couldn't get worse, the Lions made one more baffling decision that sealed their fate. Down by 10 with time running out, Detroit called for a trick play. Rookie wide receiver Jameson Williams was tasked with throwing a pass to Jahmyr Gibbs. Williams rolled out to his right but threw into coverage, resulting in his second interception of the night. Washington's Mike Sainristil grabbed the pick, and the Commanders took over with 4:33 left on the clock. They drained the clock, scored another touchdown, and made it 45-28. At that point, the game was over. Campbell expressed regret over the call, saying, "Obviously, I wish he had run the ball. But the truth is, it was just another sign that the Lions were trying to do too much, taking risks when they couldn't afford to." Campbell's heartfelt reaction, a bitter end. After the game, a visibly emotional Dan Campbell struggled to put into words what had just happened. "This isn't the time to talk about our great season and all our wins. The whole point of playing is to get to the biggest game. And we didn't make it," he said, his voice thick with emotion. For Campbell and his team, the loss was more than just another playoff disappointment. It was a crushing reminder that getting to the big game isn't enough. You have to finish the job. And this time, they didn't. Conclusion. The Lions' playoff future. The Lions' playoff hopes came to an abrupt end, and it's impossible not to wonder what could have been. With a 15-2 regular season record and so much promise, this was their chance to finally reach the Super Bowl. Instead, turnovers, mental errors, and injuries ruined everything. For Goff, Campbell, and the rest of the Lions, this loss will sting for a long time. But the future remains bright. They have a strong foundation, a talented roster, and a coach who cares deeply about his team. But until they clean up their mistakes, both mental and physical, the dream of winning it all will remain just that, a dream. The Lions will have to regroup and come back even stronger next season. But for now, they're left to reflect on what went wrong in a season that was supposed to be the one. Dan Campbell's emotional response to Lions' playoff collapse. The Detroit Lions' playoff run came to a bitter end in a stunning defeat to the Washington Commanders, with Jared Goff's struggles at quarterback being a central factor in the loss. The Lions, fresh off an impressive 15-2 regular season and entering the postseason with high hopes, were undone by Goff's 4 turnovers, including 3 interceptions and a fumble, in a game they couldn't afford to lose. Goff, who had been a steady leader for the Lions throughout the season, was plagued by mistakes at key moments. His first-half performance was particularly disastrous, as he threw a pick six, made a costly late pass to an open Jameson Williams that was intercepted, and held the ball too long, leading to a strip sack that wasted a prime red zone opportunity. Ultimately, Detroit's offense couldn't recover from these mistakes, and despite strong contributions from the talented supporting cast, Goff's errors were too much for the Lions to overcome. The weight of the loss on Goff. After the game, Goff took full responsibility for the defeat, expressing regret and acknowledging that his play could have been better. "Had I played better, do we win? Possibly," Goff said, "and that's the part that will eat me alive this offseason." His candid self-criticism highlighted the weight of the loss on him personally, and his desire to improve and avoid repeating mistakes was evident in his emotional postgame remarks. Head coach Dan Campbell was similarly devastated, emotionally choking up as he reflected on the team's effort and how the players had put everything into the season. Despite his heartfelt words and the team's injuries on defense, Campbell couldn't escape the fact that Goff's turnovers were a primary reason for their elimination. Is Jared Goff's playoff ceiling too low? The loss left fans and analysts questioning whether Jared Goff is the quarterback capable of leading the Lions to a Super Bowl. Despite his strong regular season performance, Goff's inability to play mistake-free football in the postseason has raised concerns about whether he can elevate his game in high-pressure situations. Goff's previous experience in the playoffs, leading the Los Angeles Rams to a Super Bowl, only to come up short in a disappointing 3-point loss, has fueled doubts about his ability to carry a team to a title. While Goff's supporting cast is filled with playmakers, including Jahmyr Gibbs, Jameson Williams, Amon Ross St. Brown, and Sam Laporta, the turnovers and inability to execute in key moments are significant red flags. His costly mistakes against Washington, especially the pick six and his failure to hit an open receiver in time for a potential touchdown, were glaring reminders that he can't afford to be the weak link in the offense. Looking ahead, despite these concerns, It's clear that Goff's future with the Lions is still promising. He's been part of a culture shift in Detroit, helping the team return to respectability after years of underachievement. His play during the regular season proved that he can be a capable quarterback. But questions remain about whether he can rise to the occasion when the stakes are highest. As the Lions prepare for another playoff run next season, with a fully healthy defense and a potential for even more offensive talent, the key question remains: can Goff take his game to the next level when it matters most? Head coach Dan Campbell acknowledged that improvement is needed across the board, including from Goff, if the team hopes to compete for a championship. For Goff, the offseason will be a time of reflection, growth, and the need for personal improvement. The humbling defeat will undoubtedly fuel his drive to become a better quarterback. But whether it will be enough to carry the Lions to their first Super Bowl remains to be seen. The hard truth for Detroit is that even with all their talent, they may not be able to reach their full potential with Goff playing at this level when it counts the most. You've got Jared Goff, Detroit Lions QB, looking to lead his team to a big win in the NFC divisional round. The Lions are the top seed, but what happens next is something no one saw coming. Spoiler alert: it involves an interception, a concussion check, and a missed penalty that could have changed the entire game. Buckle up, folks, 'cause we're diving into one wild ride of a football game. Let's go. The stage was set. Saturday night, a playoff atmosphere. Detroit Lions, sitting pretty as the number 1 seed, ready to crush their opponents, the Washington Commanders. But, oh boy, things didn't exactly go according to plan. Let's talk about the play that had fans and experts alike scratching their heads. Now, if you blinked, you might have missed it. Jared Goff throwing what can only be described as the most unfortunate interception of his career. But wait, it gets even worse. The moment he threw that pick, Goff wasn't just watching the ball sail into enemy hands. No, he was chasing. And what followed next was, well, let's just say, it wasn't pretty. The stage was set. Saturday night, a playoff atmosphere. Detroit Lions, sitting pretty as the number 1 seed, ready to crush their opponents, the Washington Commanders. But, oh boy, things didn't exactly go according to plan. Let's talk about the play that had fans and experts alike scratching their heads. Now, if you blinked, you might have missed it. Jared Goff throwing what can only be described as the most unfortunate interception of his career. But wait, it gets even worse. The moment he threw that pick, Goff wasn't just watching the ball sail into enemy hands. No, he was chasing. And what followed next was, well, let's just say, it wasn't pretty. Enter Frankie Louvu, linebacker for the Washington Commanders. And boom, he lays out Goff with a hit right to the head. Oh, the drama. But hold up. This is where things get interesting, folks, because it wasn't just any hit. According to NFL rules, a hit to the head? That's a penalty, a big one. In fact, a 15-yard personal foul for roughing the passer, to be exact. And that would have negated the touchdown that the Commanders were celebrating. Just like that. But guess what? The refs missed it. Mike Pereira, Fox's officiating expert, came in hot with his analysis. This should have been called. No kidding, Mike. You'd think with all the camera angles and replay, someone would have noticed the headshot on Goff. But nope. The Commanders kept their touchdown. And the game just took a weird turn. Now, here's where things took a weird twist. Jared Goff, shaken up from the hit, is escorted to the blue medical tent. This was looking like a serious situation for the Lions. But hold your horses. What's this? Goff walks out, helmet on, back in action faster than a rebooted iPhone. Talk about a tough guy. But hey, it wasn't all bad for the Lions at this point. Teddy Bridgewater, who had just been signed after coaching a high school team to a state championship, seriously. Look it up. It's wild. Stepped in. But don't get too comfortable. Goff was back in action shortly after. And just when you thought things were about to go south for the Lions, Jameson Williams pulls out a 61-yard reverse touchdown. That's right, a reverse. The kind of play that makes you want to stand up and shout. Did that just happen? But of course, the Commanders weren't done yet. They were scoring at will, although, let's be real, a couple of those points should have been wiped off the board if we're being honest about that penalty. It was pure chaos. The Lions and Commanders went back and forth, trading blows like a couple of heavyweights in the ring. Touchdown after touchdown, with the scoreboard lighting up like the 4th of July. But there was something oddly unsettling in the air. Like, this game was missing a little something. Oh, yeah, that penalty call. In the end, the Commanders walked away with a stunning 45-31 victory. 45-31. People, the number 1 seed Lions sent home in what felt like a game full of what-ifs. What if the penalty had been called? What if Goff wasn't hit in the head? What if Teddy Bridgewater didn't have to come in for those few snaps? So, what did we learn from this chaos? Well, first off, don't ever throw an interception, duh. Right? Secondly, when it comes to the refs, maybe they should take a refresher course on roughing the passer. And lastly, always expect the unexpected in the NFL. It's why we watch, right? The drama, the hits, the missed calls, it's all part of the madness. So, tell me, do you think the Lions got cheated out of that game? Or was it just a bad luck night? Drop your thoughts in the comments below because, let's be honest, this one's gonna be debated for years to come. If you liked this deep dive into one of the most bizarre playoff games in recent memory, don't forget to hit that like button, subscribe, and turn on those notifications so you never miss an epic breakdown like this. Thanks for tuning in, and we'll see you next time for more football fun and drama. Peace out. Commanders pull off stunning upset over Lions in 45-31 shootout to reach NFC Championship. The Washington Commanders, a team that finished with the second worst record in the NFL just a season ago, shocked the Detroit Lions in one of the greatest playoff upsets in recent history. In a thrilling 45-31 victory, Washington advanced to its first NFC Championship game in 33 years. While delivering a crushing blow to Detroit's dream season, a historic win for Washington, the Commanders, who had been a laughingstock of the NFL for over 2 decades, entered this season with hopes pinned on rookie quarterback Jayden Daniels, selected with the number 2 overall pick in the draft. But nobody could have predicted Daniels leading Washington to the NFC Championship in just his second postseason game. The win marks a dramatic